to spend the next couple of minutes talking about nature, looking at the way that nature has served as a common thread throughout many of the scholars that we've read this semester, and starting to look first at Stacey Alamo, and then talking about Rosie Braidotti, and finally Gloria Anzaldúa, and looking at the way that the ideas of nature, um, the natural, the idea of naturalizing has shifted and manifested from bodies to borders to being and becoming. Stacey Alamo explicitly looks at nature in the ways in which it's developed and manifested in feminist debates over the past couple of decades. She looks at feminists as they've discussed nature in terms of something to be cast aside and away, to draw firm divides between in order to transcend. She looks at the way in which nature has been taken up as sort of the epitome of womanliness and something that's inherent and innate to being a woman. And she looks at how debates about social construction look at nature as something that's wholly constructed through culture. Alamo moves from these debates to think about nature as something that's not out there for us to experience or to interpret through language, but rather something that acts upon us just as much as we act upon it. She is moving into a more post-humanist thought where not only is she destabilizing these feminist debates and the idea of a nature-culture divide, but she's really destabilizing the idea of the human as being something superior to all other beings and, importantly, all other forms of life. So, whereas Stacey Alamo is talking about nature being something that is neither stable nor static, shifting now to think about Rosie Braidotti, Braidotti is thinking about our understandings of self and sort of our identities as similarly being neither stable nor fixed, and really beautifully illustrates the way in which we are consistently and endlessly coming together through social interactions to create new understandings, both of ourselves and of others. So this process is what Braidotti calls becoming, and it's what she uses to emphasize the temporality, the uniqueness of assemblages, and the ultimate instability of those things that we think about ourselves to be supposedly natural. And so I think it's a nice way to weave Alamo's idea of nature into this idea of something being natural and shifting from talking about broader sort of feminist debates and the body and nature and talking about identities and bodies and human interactions and social interactions. Finally, Gloria Anzaldúa also talks about becoming, but her sense of becoming happens through the movement across borders and sort of a more tangible physical transition from nation to nation, and the conceptual disorientation and amalgamation of cultures, languages, and understandings, and what that means for someone's understanding of self and also the people around them. Anzaldúa moves through discussions of oppressions, those that are rooted in conceptions of race and gender and traditions and histories, and in the material realities of, being geographically dislocated or being impoverished and the material realities that go along with that. Anzaldúa's piece really gets at this idea of naturalizing and naturalization and what it means for state infrastructures to deem you a citizen or not, or for you to be really unsure of which nation you are part of or should be part of. And so I think Anzaldúa's Mestiza really breaks down and uses her flesh to transcend dualities. And I think that brings us full circle back to Alamo, who talks about nature as being, highly contested as something that's supposedly located in a woman's flesh, really in her body. That's my overview of tracing nature throughout the semester, as nature, as the natural, as naturalization, and as it's manifested throughout feminist debates and scholarship.